For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife.
It's like making movies is like a magic trick thing. You're just trying to get someone to go with the moment that you're making. A huge amount of people pour a lot of hard work and devotion into something for you to sort of almost just consume like a good meal.
Zazu, you've made me lose my lunch.
You know, you just sort of take it in and you have this really rich experience. What I like when I look at the reel of work that comes out of the studio is I like that there's always this balance of these huge popcorn movies that are just awesome in their way, and often we're really partnered with a filmmaker who has a passion project and we're doing something really crafted and small. I always love seeing that range because they inform each other. By staying dynamic and wide-ranging like that, you know, it kind of just makes you better.
Hello everyone. Technicolor Creative Studios Academy is here with episode 6 of the Learn, Create and Grow webinar series. I welcome you all to this interesting session on FX presented by our speaker Sagar Netha. I'm your host Annabelle and I'm a training coordinator here at the Technicolor Creative Studios Academy. I'm thrilled to see so many of you eager to be a part of this session. You have a chance to win some amazing merchandise from Technicolor Creative Studios if you stick around with us right until the end of this webinar. We have already had 5 insightful sessions in this webinar series where we explored tech animation and VFX, 3D DMP, lighting, and match move. Today we are diving into the fascinating field of FX. Before I proceed, I'd like to introduce you to the Technicolor Creative Studios Academy. The Academy is best known for its hands-on exposure to the intriguing world of creative technology, where artists learn a great deal about VFX at no cost. The Academy works remotely and recruits artists from various disciplines from around the globe. The training sessions are facilitated by seasoned artists who have worked on some big projects in the industry. Over a span of 4 to 14 weeks, the courses train artists in cultivating the skills necessary to succeed in the industry. Through virtual classes, artists grow their abilities by using a practical approach through frequent assignments and consistent feedback. I welcome you all once again to this session. Before we get to the main event of this webinar, allow me to introduce Sagar Netha, our speaker for today. As a visual effects artist, Sagar Netha has more than 5 years of expertise. He has contributed to major projects like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Against the Ice, Dungeons and Dragons, and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Currently, he is a trainer here at the Technicolor Creative Studios Academy and has also worked here as a key artist. Sagar is not only a gifted and dedicated artist, but is also passionate about singing and traveling. He is also an avid gamer, which inspires him to develop and use his artistic techniques in his projects. Please use the chat box to engage with us, ask us questions, and share your experiences and challenges as an FX artist so that we can offer you the required support. Sagar and team will respond to you right away.
Hello everyone, my name is Sagar Netha Chirumalla and I am a trainer here at Technicolor Creative Studios Academy. Today we are going to learn about FX. What is FX? FX simulations, also known as particle simulations or dynamic simulations, are a specific type of visual effect used in film, television, and video games. FX simulations involve the use of specialized software to create realistic simulations of dynamic systems such as fluids, gases, fire, smoke, cloth, and more. The simulations are created by defining the physical properties of the system being simulated, such as density, viscosity, and elasticity, and then using mathematical equations to simulate the behavior of the system over time. The resulting simulation can be used to create realistic and complex effects that would be difficult or impossible to achieve using practical effects or live action filming. Effect simulations are typically created using specialized software such as Houdini, Maya, or RealFlow. The simulations are often combined with other visual effects such as compositing to create seamless and realistic final product. FX simulations are used in a wide range of film, television, and video game projects, from creating realistic water effects for a pirate movie to stimulating massive explosions in a superhero film. FX simulations require a high level of technical expertise and creativity, as the artist must be able to balance the technical aspects of simulation software with artistic and creative goals to create a visually compelling final product. The effects team is tasked to add simulated elements to a film. The simulated elements must exist with all the other objects and characters into the film in the most organic way possible to achieve realistic results. The effects team often works alongside the animators to ensure the natural movements of colliding effects elements such as explosions, destruction, fire, smoke, particle simulations, and so on. Polishing is also applied over existing scenes to enhance the visual. VFX software used in movies, televisions, or advertisements has come a long way since the early days of the industry, when the use of computers in movie making was still in its infancy. Nowadays, visual effects are an integral part of filmmaking, whether the VFX remains invisible or one where the moviegoers get to see particular CGI, digital, and practical effects. Growing area of digital particle effects, which includes fluid and fire, as well as object and lighting manipulations, are some basic examples of FX elements created by FX artists. You need to make the viewer believe that what they are seeing is real. This could be a fire breathing dragon, a fairy tale castle, a rainstorm, a big wave, spaceships, superheroes with glowing body parts, alien cities, or entire planets. As a VFX artist, you're probably looking for the best software that can help you ease your best work and deliver the best output. But the number of VFX programs used in the movies that are available on the internet is quite overwhelming. There are so many applications out there that you might find it challenging to choose the right one. The day to day workflow of an FX simulations artist can vary depending on a specific project and studio they're working in. However, here is a general overview of the typical tasks that an FX simulation artist may be responsible for. Project plan. The FX simulations artist will work with the production team to determine the scope of the project, establish the creative direction, and also set project milestones and deadlines. Research and development. Depending on the project's requirements, the FX simulations artist may need to research and develop new simulation techniques and tools. They may also need to work with software developers to create new software tools or modify the existing ones to better fit the project's needs. Asset preparation. The FX simulations artist will prepare any assets necessary for the simulations, such as 3D models, textures, and particle systems. Simulation setup. The FX simulations artist will set up the simulations using specialized software such as Houdini or Maya. This may include defining the parameters of the simulation, setting up constraints, and adjusting various simulation settings. Simulation execution. Once the simulation is set up, the FX simulation artist will run it to create the desired effect. This can take several hours or even days to complete depending on the complexity of the simulation. Testing and iteration. After the simulation is complete, the FX simulations artist will test and refine it to ensure that it meets the project's requirements. This may involve making adjustments to the simulation settings or refining the asset preparation, or else tweaking the animation. Integration. Once the simulation is finalized, the FX simulations artist will integrate it into larger project pipeline. This may involve exporting the simulation to a different software package, compositing it into a shot, or handing it off to other members of the team for further work. Communications. Throughout the project, the FX simulations artist will communicate with other members of the team, including the director, art directors, and other artists. They may also collaborate with other departments such as lighting, compositing, to ensure that the final products meet the project goals. Overall, an FX simulation artist must be skilled in both technical and creative areas, as they must be able to create realistic and visually compelling simulations while also understanding the technical aspects of simulation software and workflow. They must be able to manage their time effectively to meet project deadlines and work collaboratively with other members of the team to create a cohesive final product. A FX artist's first most crucial task is to gather and watch an increasing number of references and real world example videos so that he or she can effectively recreate that kind of effect on a computer screen. The geometry scale check would be the next most crucial step. We use 10 centimeter per unit scaling in Maya, just like many of you. Typically, Houdini artists would scale down Maya materials to zero point 0.1, perform their simulation work, and scale the outcome back up for render. This is the best method to utilize because we can't simulate on the Maya scale, the results would be chaotic. The creation of fundamental low-risk simulations would be the third step. We avoid starting a high-resolution simulation all at once because that could be unstable and cause your job to fail. Go with a low resolution at first, and then when you feel your effects are heading in your right way, switch to a high resolution. One of the most crucial aspects of our workflow is caching. Whatever we do, it must first be cached before being run just on the timeline. Otherwise, your simulations may become too demanding and your file may crash. At the Academy, you will not only get to learn the best tricks and techniques from the industry, but also get hands on experience through practical exercises with team members while working on the similar shots to those that are already worked in the industry. Moreover, you will learn from the industry professionals like HODs, supervisors, and team leaders. Academic classes are available both domestically and internationally. We are currently in Australia, London, US, and India. And this way, you get to interact and connect with everyone everywhere. Learning and exploring the different perspectives of the industry from around the world is the best way to get better understanding of the industry. Here at the Academy, we will do the same for you. Now, we'll try to understand FX more clearly with some examples.
Thank you for that insightful session, Sagar. Let's take a quick break to enjoy a round of trivia where you stand a chance to win some great goodies. All you must do is listen to the question carefully and type your answers in the chat box as fast as you can. Technicolor's first commercially released film, The Gulf Between, was released in which year? What does the term FX stand for in the context of visual effects? What is the name of the process of creating realistic physics simulations for rigid bodies such as falling of debris or collapsing structures? What does HTA stand for? Thank you for posting your answers. Our team will reach out to the winner via email. Please keep an eye on your inbox. We've now seen a glimpse of what the Academy has to offer. For those who are interested in signing up or learning more about the application process, click on the link in the upper right corner of the screen. Links to past webinars are also available on our website, linked in the description box.
Thank you, Annabelle. Now let's proceed with the webinar.
So now we'll try to understand more clearly regarding effects with some example files. So this is a particle setup I've created with some basic particle elements. This is how it looks. We'll try to dive inside and understand it more clearly. I have taken a grid initially and have transformed it a little to the above so that the rain would be falling from above to below, right? So, and I've taken a pop net here. So this is how the emitter is acting as a particle source for the grid. I'll dive inside. What's happening inside here is we are applying some gravity and taking the ground plane for the collision behavior of the particles. So whenever the particles are spawned at the emitter, which is at the grid, with the help of gravity, they are traveling downwards, and with the help of ground plane, it is having the collision behavior. And due to this collision behavior, we can go inside the pop solver and enable collision detection. Whenever the pop particles are being collided with anything, this will have it detected inside the simulation. Then what are we trying to do here is we are trying to name it as this switching by switching this on as collide group and giving a name for it, as well as we are giving a color for it, so that we can clearly understand where it is getting hit, and which are the particles which are getting hitted with the help of the color. And the response we are trying to give whenever a particle is getting to hit, we are giving the response as die. So whichever the particle is going and hitting, that will die. And at the same time, we are using this hit group inside pop replicate. As you can see here, we are using this hit group, and we are trying to give birth to some new particles which are spawning at the die position of the primary particle. So we can see here we have given the constant birth rate as 70. Life expectancy of this particles would be a little low, so that is why I have given it as 0.2, and life variance is also at 0.2. And we can even give the shape how it should be spawning. We have so many types of shapes here: sphere, cylinder, cone, grid, circle, line, and point. And we can also give the uniform scale for the particles as well as velocity scale also. And you can also give the noise. I'm trying to explain whatever the things we have used here in this setup. So this is how we are trying to create a rain source with the help of particles. Then after, the most important thing would be file cache. So whatever the simulation we do, to not to get the file destroyed or going into crash, we should cache it. So that the file will become or the simulation might become a little lightweight. So in order to remove the color, and again giving a color node here, trying to recolor it everything in the same page with the white color. Then after, what I'm doing is whatever the particles we are having in our hand is spear shape. So mostly we know the rain particles which are traveling from clouds to ground, it will have a different unique ellipse shape, a line kind of shape. So we are trying to delete two types of particles which are coming from the emitter, that is particle type 1, and which is being emitted from the pop replicate when the hitting is happening. That is apart two type of particles. So we are trying to separate them here. And as you can see, this is pop replicate, which is replicating at the dying position of the ground. This is the first type of particle, and we can see these two are separate things. And I've given a line which is length of 0.1, and given the copy to points node, so that you'll have a um, different type of particles and different type of elements. You can choose where you want it, and you can have multiple different types of elements also. For example, you are working on a different project, and your CG soup or CG lead might give you a different shape to copy to points with the particles. Then you can give the input of the geometry here and give the copy to points input, so that every particle would be having replaced as instances with the given geometry. Why we have given here the main reason is, now this line, when we spawn, it will be coming at the horizontal way. So to change it 90 degrees, I have given here the direction. But again, whenever the particles are dropping down onto the ground, they will be having a different type of direction. So that is why I've given separate copy to points, and this I've given 45 degrees angle, so that they will have a different type of nature when they hit and come up to the towards the sky. So this is how I have created the particle rain source setup. So now we are moving forward to a different example here. So this is RBD destruction example now. As you can see, a ball is going forward and being hit with a wall, and we can also see a destruction is happening with a lot of fine details. Also, you can see a lot of fine details are coming up in the simulation. We'll try to understand more clearly by diving inside. So we'll go to top. Now what I'm doing here is I'm taking a simple box and scaling it according to my requirement, and from the camera view. And when we come to the fracture node, we have mainly three types of fracture nodes. The first one is Voronoi fracture, second one is Boolean fracture, and the third one is RBD material fracture. In the Voronoi fracture, the fracture takes the node takes input as scatter points to break the geometry which we give as input. And when it comes to Boolean fracture, it takes geometry shapes to destroy the geometry which we give as input. And when we come to the RBD material fracture, it has its own way of fracturing. So I like it very much. Why? Because it has many options included in it. So it doesn't need any extra requirement as scatter points or geometry shapes. It has its own inside fracture levels. The first node is primary fracture. We can include the number here, how many levels of fractures you want to need. For my simulation, I have given two. If at all we are going for a higher end simulation, we can increase the number here. And in each and every level, we have this cell points tab. Here we have scatter points, where you can indicate how many points you want to give. And you have noise type, noise frequency, as well as cutoff density also. So this will be a lot of help in making your fracture in different levels, and it will give more resolution also. So we'll go to chipping. Chipping is also very much helpful for you in when you are going through any RBD destruction. Chipping allows you to give many types of different cuttings on the edges also. And whenever you want to it more detail, you can go to detail tab and switch on in edge detail and interior detail. These are very much fine tuning options, but beware when you switch these on. Why? Because it will make your file heavy, but the final end result is very good and comforting to see. And the last tab is constraints tab. Here the glue constraints are created by default. Whether you can use it or you can create your own constraints by your own. Regarding constraints, I'll let you know in a short while what are constraints. Before that, we are doing a RBD pack. Then after, we are doing an unpack, and we have given here a clean node. But because I need to remove all the attributes which are present inside the RBD geometry. I'm trying to remove all the attributes here except excluding name attribute. So we'll talk more clearly regarding this clean attribute in a short while. And where we see this RBD unpack, it has three outputs. The first is geometry, second is the constraint geometry, and the third is proxy geometry. Whether we can use the first input to a simulation or else the third, we'll try to use the third in output. Why? Because proxy geometry is a little bit low heavy when we compare to first input. So this is the glue constraint output. We'll use it shortly. Then after the proxy geometry, from the proxy geometry output, we have taken the assemble node, and I've created a packet geometry. Now I have given a bound. Why? Because whenever I am trying to hit this wall, whenever my ball is going and hitting this ball, I don't want this corner edges to be distracted or destroyed. It should be staying there as it is only. So that is why I'm giving a bound area where you can see I'm excluding this part, the corner part, and creating this middle part as active region. And I'm enabling this, which is inside the bounding region, as active region. Whenever the simulation is happening, this should only affect this outer area, should not affect. So that is the main scope here. Then after I'm giving the activation for this also, I at the rate active is equals to 1. So these are the wall pieces of mine. These are ready to go into simulation. We'll quickly dive in into the RBD simulation. I've created a DocNet. So I have taken the RBD packed object as wall pieces where we have this input, and I've given RBD packed object as a sphere. So sphere is the main important thing. Why? Because this is what which is coming and hitting the wall. So as you can see, we have this big sphere, and I have transformed it a little bit to the opposite direction. I'll show you like this, and I have properly set it in the proper place to go and hit the wall. And also I have given a name for it, so that this name will be used for it, and I've packed it also, and this is outsphere. This will be used for our RBD simulation as the RBD packed object. Then after I have taken a rigid body solver, plugged in everything whichever I have, and took a constraints network. Now here what I have given is the wall constraints. Because without this wall constraints, this constraints, the wall would collapse. So that is why I've created the wall constraints. And you might be wondering why I have cleaned it. Why? Because whenever we have given the RBD material fracture node, this will create automatic glue constraints. Now we cannot bypass this, but I don't want to mess up with anything. That is why I have taken out only name attribute which I need for my further actions for the simulation. Then after I went inside, I've created my own glue constraints network. Now this glue constraints will be acting upon the strength whichever I give. Now I'll show it more clearly. I have glue constraints of strength of 10. So that is why only this small area is being affected. If at all I go to a little lower number, something like 1, a bigger area will be affected with the RBD simulation, with the impact. Now, if at all I go to 0, the whole wall would be affected with the simulation here. So now I think you know what is the meaning of the glue constraints and how much strength it should be given. If at all I give something huge number like 100, now you can see here it is hitting, but it is not going forward. Till now the sphere was going forward from the hole. Now it is coming backwards because of the strength. If at all I give more number also here, as you can see, the simulation would be, I hope the sphere would not even break it. So this is what the glue constraints will do to your simulation. And we'll go outside, and caching is most important thing, as I said you already. Whenever you do cache, the simulation will be a little bit light, and it will help you to check multiple times whatever you are going through in your workflow. So now we are going to move forward with the different example. Now the example setup 5 is on flip. Now I'm trying to take a test geometry which can be useful. If you want to take any test geometry for your simulation purposes, just click on tab and type in test geometry. So all these test geometries can be used for your simulation purposes. But again, not to take any chances, but because we are working on flip simulations, the geometry should be a little light. So I am taking a poly reduce and reducing the polygon count for this to 10%, and taking this as outsource. This will be our main source for the flip simulation. And I'm taking a droplet here, taking a flip object and giving in and feeding the input as outsource inside the swap path. So this will be our main input for the flip object. But again, to give the bounding box for this, and what I'm do is I'm not taking any different geometry for it. I'm just closing the boundaries using this option here as closed boundaries, so that these closed boundaries will act as a geometry to stop the flip simulation. And going forward, I have this flip solver, and wherever I have given the closed boundaries, I am giving the boundary areas for the box size. As you can see, I've used this much area for the simulation. So if at all we try to simulate it, it'll be a little high now too. Also, it'll be a little bit slow to simulate. As you can see, it is falling a little bit slowly, but again, to make it a little faster, I have cached it already. So this is the import node where we import all the DOP inputs with the help of DOP import field, and I've cached it a little bit here. So as you will see here, after caching it also, this is a little bit heavy, right? So but we can see some pretty good splashes with some collisions happening here, but they are in the geometry of sphere position. That is why you can't see it clearly. So after this caching and what we'll go forward and do is we'll try to convert the flip particles into fluid surface. Here we use particle fluid surface node, and we give the resolution whatever we want to make it look as mesh. So here we have a 0.01 particle separation and voxel size as 0.75, and the droplet scale is also most important thing. With this we can give some fine edges to the particle simulation. So I have cached this one also to give you a more clear clarity how it will look after meshing. So this is how it looks like. As you can see, we can see more clear and more satisfying details with the splashes, and when it is hitting onto the walls we can see clearly what is happening. So this is how a basic flip simulation is created. So these are the fine details we can get inside the flip simulation, and as I said, the droplets can be given at the edges of the flip simulations, so that it will be more fine tuned, but again it will make the file more heavily, and you need to cache it again after doing the particle fluid surface changes also. So this is how we can achieve some good simulations in the basic setup of flip.
I hope the webinar was informative. Signing off here, and we will be waiting for all of you at Technicolor Creative Studios Academy. Apply today to make your way towards becoming an FX artist.
Sagar, that session was great. I'm positive our engaged audience have learned some excellent tips. I appreciate every one of you coming today. We invite you to follow us on social media. If you have any other queries, contact us using the information displayed on the screen, and we will get back to you. You can view a recording of this webinar on YouTube. So keep an eye out for it and feel free to share it with friends who might find the series useful. Please follow our channels to get updates and access to more of this excellent material. We appreciate you participating and we'll see you soon for the next episode of Learn, Create and Grow.